Hi, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be sharing with you how we do food in our homeschool. And so if you enjoyed this type of content and other homeschool and lifestyle content, please remember to subscribe and let's get into it. Okay, so this video is an open collaboration video with Abby from Rooted in Rest and Jessica from the Waldock Way. So there'll be a playlist linked down below with other homeschool moms here on YouTube sharing how they do food in their homeschool. And so I know sometimes this is a tricky thing and it's good to have more ideas, especially when it's about food and making things more simple as a homeschool mom. And so make sure you check out that playlist and see all their wonderful ideas. Okay, so I have my list right here of things that I want to talk to you about. And so I'm gonna go over some breakfast items first. And to be completely honest, until like was it even last year? It was maybe the year before. It might have been last year. I can't remember for sure. I didn't really have specific plans about food for either breakfast or lunch. You know, we always had similar snacks and stuff, but I never had specific plans of what my kids were gonna do. I wasn't making them food. That was the thing. I was like, no. I'm already doing a lot. I make you dinner, and occasionally I do end up making something for lunch or whatever, and they get to have that, you know, they're lucky. It's their lucky day that I did that. But other than that, I was like, no, you guys can just figure it out and I'll just provide a few things. So most of the time for breakfast, it was cereal. And not only is cereal just full of sugar, not super filling, but it's also super expensive, especially when you're feeding several kids and they're eating it every day. And then also the milk that goes along with it, right? It's like we're just going through tons of milk, especially when now we have a toddler that drinks milk as well throughout the day. And so it was just a lot. I was like, we can't like keep up with this. And I got a lot of inspiration from Jordan Page on, they just have cereal, I think, as a snack. And maybe on Sundays, I don't know if she said that at the time, but that's what we decided to do. So my kids, you know, they still like cereal, and so everybody likes cereal. And so we do cereal Sunday mornings. And so it's a, you know, special treat for a special day of the week. They get to have cereal on Sunday mornings. But other than that, we rarely have cereal for any other reason, just because again, it's so expensive. And it's so nice now that I'm not buying cereal constantly. I'm like, oh wait, we still have lots of cereal. And it's really, really nice. And that's the only day really of the week that we go through milk super fast because everybody's eating cereal. But other than that, what are options then during the week? You know, I want things that are a little bit more substantial, that'll fill them up, but also things that they can do by themselves. So a few of the things, we've done a variety of things over the last couple years. It just kind of depends on my mood, what I'm willing to prepare and what I'm not, what I have time for, and things like that. Most of my kids already know how to make their own eggs. So eggs and toast is always an option for them. My oldest 4 can do that, or they can do oatmeal. I had to take a break because my card was full. Super annoying. So I had to go and delete some videos. Anyway. They're videos you've already seen, so don't worry about it. But my kids, like I was saying, hopefully, we'll see exactly where it cut off. I'm not exactly sure, but my kids know how to do eggs and toast and oatmeal all by themselves. They can do that very easily by themselves. And so a few other things that I like to do, they can bake pancakes, but for a normal homeschool morning, that just takes a long time. So sometimes we were just doing it on Saturdays so that they would rotate taking turns. I just would get the pancake mix from Sam's Club. I just like the Members Mark one. And it's easy for them to just make pancakes that way. And so sometimes on Saturday mornings they do that. Well, at Christmas, they got a waffle maker. I know some people are like, you got a waffle maker for your kids, but it has been so great. And they love the waffles, so what I'll do is still use that pancake mix. Sorry guys, you know how much I love having my hair down. It drives me insane. So, but I just washed it today, so it's down. But anyways, and so I will use that same mix. I'll just make, it's like 8 cups basically, like 8 cups of mix, and just add water till it's a good consistency. And I'll make tons of waffles. We just ran out actually yesterday morning, so I need to make more. And I we'll rip them apart. So sometimes my kids will do this. It just kind of depends again on the day and what our time is like. Sometimes they're the ones sitting there making the waffles. Sometimes it's me. And so then we'll put them out on cookie sheets. I'll just flash freeze them for a second so they don't all stick together when we freeze them. And then we'll put them in bags and put them in the freezer. And then a lot of times they'll just take them out in the morning, 1 or 2. My toddler loves them, and it's very easy for him when he's starving to make them quickly. And so we'll just take them out real quick and then put them in the microwave for, I think they do 30 seconds. Usually I'm not around too much for breakfast stuff because I'm working out. And so my husband kind of navigates all that. So I just make sure stuff is there that they can eat. And then they'll put them in the toaster because then they get crunchy, and they really like it when they're crunchy. So that's one of the options. We've also done French toast sticks. It's been a long time since we've done those, but I will make a whole bunch of French toast sticks, just like a homemade recipe that I found for French toast sticks. And then I use like a Texas toast or something, like a thicker bread, and I'll cook them all up and then again flash freeze them, put them in baggies, and then my kids will put them in the air fryer and cook them until some of them like them more mushy, some like them super crispy, almost burnt. And then they'll just get a little container with some syrup and dip them in them. And that's also another just like easy option for breakfast. Something that we've recently been doing a little bit more is like breakfast sandwiches. Again, they are substantial, like they are filling. And so I will either buy croissants. I just usually get them at Sam's Club, the bigger ones, not the mini ones, and cut them in half. And then I will put them in the freezer so that when they take them out, it's really easy to warm them up. They're already cut in half. You know, you're not having to fight with that, because trying to cut something that's frozen in the middle is really not super fun, especially for a child. And then I got the little like circle rings that you can cook eggs. And so usually they use those more when they're making them on biscuits. So sometimes I'll make homemade biscuits and put those in the freezer and cut them in half as well before I do that. And then the circle rings fit really well on the biscuits, and they'll just make their eggs, put them on there. And sometimes I just have bacon bits, like the ones from either Sam's Club or Costco that are real bacon or whatever, the big bag of it. Or I'll cook up bacon and just put it in the fridge or the freezer. Or I've done the like sausage patties. We did that last time from Costco, and my husband actually really liked it that way too. So we've run out of those, so I might get more of them, but those were already cooked. You're just like warming them through type of a situation. So that was really nice. And so I'll have some options like that. If they wanted to put cheese on it, they could. Most of them don't like to do things like that. And so we used to assemble the whole sandwich and freeze it that way, but it tends to get mushier or soggy that way. And then this way my kids can make it how they want to. And so that's kind of what we've been doing recently, and it's been working really well. The last thing that we kind of have as a breakfast option is yogurt, like a yogurt parfait situation. I usually get a Greek yogurt, so it has more protein, but it's still vanilla, you know, so look at your sugar versus protein. You know, you want your protein to be higher and stuff like that. And so I will get that kind of, like I'll get some yogurt, and then they can have some granola. I have a recipe that I found for homemade granola that I want to try. I have not yet, but my husband really likes the Members Mark granola from Sam's Club, so that's the one I usually buy. And then sometimes I have fresh like berries and sometimes I don't, but yogurt is another just like quick, easy thing. And it's more filling than just some other things, you know, especially if you get really good yogurt for it. So that's something else that we like to do for breakfast. Okay, and then how do snacks work in our house? So for a long time, you know, I choose healthier pantry snacks, as healthy as you can. You know, I'm not like buying potato chips and stuff like that, or cookies or anything like that. But I maybe wasn't always doing the best things either. And we still have, you know, like the goldfish or things like that. You know, what else do they like? They like we get the fig bars, which I consider that a little bit better. Sometimes they like the cookie biscuits. What are they called? They're like, start with a B, I think. Anyway. And so we'll get those as well. Those still have a lot of sugar in them, but we'll have a few pantry items. Sorry, I'm getting over a cold and my throat is driving me crazy with like the mucus. I know, TMI, but It's driving me crazy. And that's why my voice sounds so raspy. And so I'll get some of those snacks for the pantry, but we were going through them really fast and not necessarily eating stuff from the fridge. And so again, Jordan Page talked about having fridge snacks, and that's where they go first. And then you have a few things in the pantry, but they need to, pick from the fridge first. And then the pantry things, mostly like if it's in a packaged bag, then it's not for home. Like it's for school, because they go to public school, or for my kids, it would be like if we went on a field trip or if we went to the park to do school and took lunch, then they could take something that's in a like individual package, just because those things are so expensive compared to just buying a huge bag of goldfish and sectioning it out yourself type of situation. And so in my fridge, so we started doing this as far as they have to have fridge snacks, and I don't have like a cool little drawer like her. The sun is coming out and it snowed, so I'm like going blind right now. I can't see anything. It's fine. But so if you see me like going like this, it's because the glare off the snow is pretty intense right now. So sometimes we have string cheese. Sometimes I'll just have normal, like a regular block of cheese. It kind of depends on my kids. Some of them like different types of cheeses. And so I could cut it up, or they'll cut up their own cheese and they can use that. I'll have some fruit, apples are always good. Berries are good. They just go bad quickly. So it's one of those things you have to use towards the beginning, usually. But then there's like carrots or cucumbers, and sometimes we have jicama. Some of my kids just absolutely love jicama. So things like that, or some different types of yogurt as well. Like yogurt is an option as well for that. And then something that I like to keep in the freezer is protein bites, which I mentioned this, I think, in my grocery haul. And I know some people want recipes, and we'll see if we insert it into this. I have to see if we have a chance to make them before this video goes up. We need to make them, but videoing it and making it at the same time takes longer. So we'll see if we do that. But my protein bites that I like to use and the protein muffins I like to use are both from Elise Ellis. And so she's macro-friendly food. I'll put her website down below, and it's a like meal subscription basically. And I think it's about $10 a month, and she'll put in new recipes every month, but you have access to all the old recipes on it as well. And so I really like her pumpkin protein muffins. They're like chocolate chip ones. And then I also really like the Monster, I think they're called Monster Bites, which is the protein bites that we generally use. And so for both of those, I'll make a batch of them. I think I double both of those because I have so many kids. So I'll double the batch on both of those, scoop them all out, make all the muffins, all things like that. And then I will put them in the freezer. So then the protein bites they can just pull out, and some of my kids like to eat them when they're super hard. Or you can let them sit and they'll get a little softer because they're peanut butter and stuff in them. And then the muffins, they just throw in the microwave for about 30 seconds, and then the chocolate chips are nice and gooey. That's the best. But again, it's a little bit more substantial of a snack because it does have the protein in it, and it's made from better ingredients, so I can feel better about giving those things to my kids. And then if they have their fridge snack, they can go and pick something from the pantry if they're still hungry. And I'll have a variety of options. They really love Boom Chicka Pop, which is pretty good. Like the macros on that are pretty darn good. So they'll get some of that. And it's been a really good opportunity actually to talk about serving sizes, because like the Boom Chicka Pop, the serving size looks really huge because it's popcorn. Compared to like goldfish, I'm like, they'll fill up their whole bowl with goldfish. I'm like, go put some of that back. We're not supposed to eat more snacks than we're eating normal meals. So I'm like, that's way too much. But with the popcorn, they could fill the whole bowl, and that is a serving. So it's good for us to, when we still have the boxes or the bags or whatever, we can look at the back and see what the actual serving size is, talk about it. And it's been good to for them to know that, this, just because they're filled the same way doesn't mean it's the same serving size. You're actually eating way more goldfish than you are popcorn. And so just that awareness of food I feel like has been really good. So I'll keep a few snacks. It just kind of depends what we see at the store and what I feel like. Sometimes it's a little bit more helpful. Sometimes it's not as helpful, you know, depending on who I have with me that day and how we feel. Sometimes things are just, we just get the more sugary things. It just depends on the day. So anyways, that's kind of how we do snacks. And they usually will have a snack mid-morning and then like mid-afternoon. They have to finish about an hour before we have dinner. They're not allowed to have snacks anymore because I want them to hopefully eat dinner. And so that's kind of how we do snacks, and they don't have to have a snack if they don't want to, but that's the way it works. And right now I feel like, especially my toddler, that's all he wants to do is eat food, because in the summer or even in the spring when it's a little bit warmer, they are outside a lot. And when he's bored, he just thinks it's time to eat. And I'm like, no, let's go do something else. It's not time to eat. So anyway, it'll be nice when it warms up a little bit so that he can go out and play, so I don't have to, you know, fight him in the pantry all the time. Like, get out of here. It's not time for a snack. Okay, so here are the ingredients for the pumpkin chocolate chip muffins. And so I'm just gonna go through these real quick and then I'll show you how to make them. So salt, flour, baking soda, baking powder, those are pretty normal. Pumpkin, I'm making 2, like I'm doubling the batch. So I have 2 cans of pumpkin here. There's Truvia, you could just use regular sugar. The carbs are just lower on this one. And then protein powder, just kind of whatever kind you like. This is a vanilla one. I've used like a snickerdoodle one. You know, it kind of goes along with the pumpkin spice thing. And then pumpkin spice, a pumpkin pie spice. And this one is homemade because I ran out. And so this is just left over. It might not be quite enough, but we'll just make it work. We'll use what we have. And then 1% milk. A lot of times will just use the whole milk that I have. Obviously, it adds more fat to the muffins, but I don't always buy 1% milk, and we have whole milk because of my toddler. So anyways, I have that today. And then non-fat Greek yogurt, like plain Greek yogurt. And I like to get the Walmart brand because it's cheaper, but it wasn't available. They were out of stock. So this is the one I got. I still like Chobani. It's just more expensive. And then no sugar added applesauce, and then semi-sweet chocolate chips. And those are the ingredients. Oh, also vanilla, which I don't have any. And so we're just going to make them without vanilla. So there's also vanilla, but we're just not using it today. So here we go. Okay, so applesauce is what we're gonna start with, and it's a half a cup. Again, you're gonna see me doubling everything, so I'm gonna try to say the single serving measurements instead of the doubled recipe, but I'm just gonna pour that in there. And I just like to use my liquid measuring cup for a lot of things. It just makes my life easier. All right, and then we have a 1/4 cup of the Truvia that I'm gonna put in. And sometimes this little thing is super annoying, but it's also fun, I guess. I don't know, because I'm like, I could just scoop it out faster instead of sitting here going like this. Maybe if I just needed a small amount, that would be fine. But, you know, we might be here till next week. So anyway, so a 1/4 cup of this. All right, and then it's a cup of pumpkin, but I just put in the whole can because it's like, what am I supposed to do with the rest? It's not very much. So I'm just gonna put 2 whole cans of pumpkin in here because that's just how I roll, and that's how I've been making them, and it turns out fine. So that's what we're gonna do. And then it's a half cup of the yogurt, of the Greek yogurt. And so I'm just gonna put that back into my liquid measuring cup because it's already dirty. So why not? And then a 1/4 cup of milk. So back in the liquid measuring cup again because we're trying to minimalize the mess. So I'm putting in half a cup, but it's a 1/4 cup if you're doing a single recipe. And then if you have vanilla extract, it would be a teaspoon would go in here, but I don't. So we're just gonna skip it because it's not really that big of a deal. And then I'm just gonna whisk this part together before we add our dry ingredients. It looks like baby food and smells like Thanksgiving. So the best things in life, right? And then a teaspoon of baking soda and a half teaspoon of baking powder. And then a half teaspoon of salt. I always go shy on the salt. I don't need more salt in my life, so I just never add the full amount ever. So that's what we're doing there. And then a tablespoon of the pumpkin pie spice. I might not have enough here for my doubled batch, so we'll see, but we'll do the best we can. It's gonna be close, so We're gonna call it good, actually. I think that's good. 2 tablespoons for me, but it's a tablespoon for a single batch. And I'm just gonna mix this a little bit before I add the flour, since it just mixes a little bit easier before you have all that flour in there. And then it will be 1.5 cups of flour that will be added to a single batch of this. And then it's 75 grams of protein. So I just get out my kitchen scale and put a bowl on it and tare it so it's zeroed out with the bowl, and then I just scoop it in here. So I'm gonna use 150 grams because I'm doubling, but it's 75 grams. I guess I should change it to grams. It's in ounces right now. There we go. I would have figured it out pretty quickly. And then I'm gonna mix all this together before I add in the chocolate chips. And just a tip, if you do have problems with chocolate chips falling to the bottom, I haven't with this recipe, but sometimes with muffin recipes you might. You can always reserve a little bit of the flour and put your chocolate chips in the flour before, like just put them in a bowl like this, you know, kind of shake them up a little bit. The flour coating helps them stay more suspended in the muffin instead of sinking to the bottom. So if you ever have that problem with muffin recipes in general, and you could do that with like blueberries, anything like that too, you can just coat them with a little bit of flour and that just helps. But like I said, I haven't ever had problems with this recipe with chocolate chips just being in a bunch at the bottom. So, okay, I'm gonna call this good for right this second because I'm gonna mix in the chocolate chips, so that will keep mixing in the rest of the flour, and then I won't over mix the whole thing. And so it's 1/2 cup of chocolate chips, you know, or you can add a little extra if you want. And so, you know, I always add a cup in my double batch and then a little extra because they're chocolate chips and they're yummy. So there you go. And then I'm just gonna mix these in as well. Okay, so I have my mix here all mixed up, and I've started putting it in the muffin tins. Usually it fills up about 3. It just kind of depends. Sometimes it's a little more, sometimes it's a little less. I sprayed them with cooking spray. You could put liners in them if you wanted to do it that way. And then this scoop I'm using is a 3 tablespoon scoop. And then I just fill them up and we put them in the oven at 375 for usually 12 to 15 minutes. It just kind of depends, and everyone's oven is a little bit different. So usually I can tell because I've been baking a long time by just like touching them, but I'm sorry, I can't be more exact than that. I will let you know when these are done, how long they took to cook today. All right, so here's the muffins all out of the oven. They took about 18 minutes, which was longer than I thought they were gonna take in my oven, so good thing I timed it for you. But the recipe does say 18 to 20 minutes, so it fit more with the recipe. So they are done out of the oven, and this is my favorite time to eat them. Obviously they're like molten lava right now, so maybe wait a few minutes, but I love it when they're warm because they're just so gooey and delicious. But you can achieve that same thing. I like to freeze them, but you can just warm them up in the microwave for like 30 to 45 seconds and they're nice and gooey all over again. And that's the other batch is about ready to come out of the oven. So anyways, they're done. They're delicious. We love them. I just keep them in the freezer and my kids eat them as snacks. Okay, so here's the ingredients for the protein bites, or they're called monster cookie bites, I think, on Elise Ellis's website. But I have some milk, and then some quick oats. You could probably use the rolled oats as well. These ones are just nice because they're smaller. And then pure honey. I was going to make a double batch today, but then I went downstairs and this is all the honey we have. And so I might just make a single batch because I don't think I have enough honey and I don't want to use it all up because my kids use it for lunches too. So probably just a single batch. So some honey. And then some protein powder. This is just one we've had for a while and I'm trying to use it up because my husband was using it for like protein drinks and stuff and hasn't been. So I've been putting that in the protein bites. And then mini chocolate chips. I've also put just normal size. Obviously, all those things are going to change the macros if that's what you're doing this for, but I don't always have mini chocolate chips, so I'll sometimes use bigger, like semi-sweet ones. And then M&Ms, which again, you could just put chocolate chips in them, you could just put M&Ms, you could put a mixture. It's kind of up to you what you want to do. And then some peanut butter, some creamy peanut butter. And then I like to mix this with my KitchenAid. So I have my mixing bowl. So let's mix it all up. Okay, this is just a reminder to myself and to you that this is for a single batch because I don't have enough honey to make a double batch. I'm so used to doubling this, I have to remind myself not to double it. So we're gonna start with the rolled oats right here. Sorry, you can't really see them very well, but that's what I'm gonna put in. And it's 2 cups of the rolled oats, and I'm just gonna put everything right into my mixing bowl. And I like to do this first because then I can use the same measuring cup right here for my peanut butter. So it works out really well. So I'm gonna do 2 cups in here. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out where to put this bowl so you can see it. Okay, then I'm gonna take my creamy peanut butter and then I'm gonna scoop that into my measuring cup. It's just 1 cup of peanut butter. Okay, then it's 1/4 cup of milk. Again, I have this 1%. I'm just trying to use it for some of these recipes, but I don't always use 1%. A lot of times I just have whole milk, so that's what I use. So that adds a little bit more fat, but that's all right. So I'm gonna add that in. And then I like to spray my measuring cup so my honey comes out easier. So let me grab the spray and do that. So just give it a little spray in there and then that helps it a little bit. And then I'm just gonna put 1/2 cup of honey into this container. Hopefully leaving honey for my kids to make a few sandwiches until I get honey from the store. And then we're gonna just pour this into here. And then, I don't have my spatula over here. I'm using my finger. I know some people might hate that, but it's only my kids and me that are eating these, so, and my husband, and we don't really care, so. All right, so we have that in there. Okay, and then I'm gonna weigh my protein powder again. It's 75 grams or 3 25-gram scoops. So if your serving size for your protein powder is 25 grams, then you can just do 3 scoops. But every protein powder is a little bit different, so I'm just gonna measure it and make sure that we get it accurately. So let me change it to grams. I use ounces for some things and grams for others. So we're gonna do 75 grams since it's a single batch. And then I'm just gonna pour that in here. And then we're going to mix this. So let me get my mixer up here and we're gonna mix this up before we add in the chocolate chips and M&Ms. And I just have the paddle attachment on here. So we're gonna mix this up until it looks pretty incorporated. All right, and then it's 1/4 cup of M&Ms and mini chocolate chips. I'll actually measure them for you. I usually just kind of eyeball it, but today we'll measure. So here's 1/4 cup of M&Ms, and then we'll do 1/4 cup of our mini chocolate chips as well. And then we'll mix this back up just for a few minutes. Not a few minutes. No, don't listen to that. Just a few seconds. And then it's fine. You could do this to like fold it in if you wanted to, if you're worried about them getting broken up or whatever, but I never have a problem. I just put it on until they look pretty mixed, and then I'll use a spatula to scrape the edges and clean everything off. Okay, so here is our batter, our dough. It's not a batter or a dough, but here it is. We're not gonna cook it. We're just gonna put it on a cookie sheet. I just line mine with like a silicone liner or whatever and put it on there. And let me grab the scoop and I'll let you know what that scoop is. But the recipe says a tablespoon cookie scoop, or 25 balls that are about 1.2 ounces each. So let me get a pan out and my scoop, and I'll tell you what scoop I use because I don't think it's exactly that size. Okay, my scoop is 1.5 tablespoons, so they might be just slightly larger than they're supposed to be, but I don't have a 1 tablespoon scoop, and this scooper is just easier to use. My other one is 3 teaspoons, which puts it in between the two. So anyway, we're just using the bigger scoop. This is a good size for my kids and stuff. So I'm gonna scoop these out, and I don't get 25 because I'm not making them that small. But I'll let you know, you'll be able to see, and I'll tell you how many we got when we're all done. All right, here they are, all done. And we actually got 27, so that was pretty good. So maybe this is pretty close to the right size. And I'm so used to filling up a whole tray, and I'll usually have rows of 6 and stuff because I doubled the batch, but today I couldn't. So what I'll do now is I'll put this in the freezer just for a little while so these can harden up, because they do kind of remain a little soft. So if I was just to put them right into the fridge, they would get smushed. And so I'll put them in the freezer on this tray, kind of let them flash freeze for an hour or 2, sometimes a day until my kids want one. And then we'll put them in a bag. And then I keep that bag in the freezer as well so that they don't get soft and all mushed back into like a big clump in the fridge. And then they just take them out. And if they don't want them as hard, they just let them sit for a few minutes and they'll soften back up. So those are our yummy protein bites that we have been enjoying lately. Okay, and then for lunch, we usually do make your own lunch. I have tried last year or the year before to be like, Monday we do this, Tuesday we do this, and Thursday, forget about Wednesday we do this. And we still have a few days that we might kind of stick to the same things. But the problem I found with some of that is that some of my kids didn't like the options, or they wouldn't eat very much of them, or we were wasting a lot of food because we just wouldn't go through it. So it was a little easier if we picked like to eat the same thing on 2 days of the week than it was to have something different for lunch every single day. So now I just usually have a few options. So Mondays, we still usually do chicken nuggets, and they just do those in the air fryer. Not always, not all my kids like to eat chicken nuggets, but that's a lot of times it's something easy for them to do. And then Wednesdays have been a pizza day for us for a really long time. And so for lunch, we'll make pizza. Usually they'll make their own, like home, obviously they're homemade pizza, but they'll like make it how they want to. And sometimes it's very interesting. So it's fun for them, you know, to be in the kitchen. I did make sourdough, like a sourdough roll up, and cut it like cinnamon rolls and cooked it that way just this last week. And that was really good. So we're gonna do that again this week for our pizza on Wednesday. So we kind of, you know, we can switch it around a little bit and try some different things. And then also I like to just keep sandwich stuff. Usually they just like peanut butter and honey. I have one kid that likes jelly, where I'm a jelly person. So honey, I don't like honey at all. So I'm like, okay, cool. And then like quesadilla stuff, they'll either, you know, put cheese on it, or some of them like to put the peanut butter and honey or jelly and just roll it up. Like you'll cook the shell, because we have the like tortilla land ones you have to cook. And then they'll roll it up and eat that. And so that's an option for them. And then there's always like fruit and vegetable options. And we usually encourage them to have at least one fruit or vegetable with their lunch. You know, trying to encourage healthy eating without it being too stressful and overwhelming for everyone. It sometimes still is, but that's kind of where we're at right now. Okay, I'm trying not to have a coughing fit over here because I've been talking for a while, so my throat's like, I am done for today, okay? There's also just always the option for leftovers, okay? So we usually have leftovers from the previous night's dinner, so they can always have that as an option as well. And there's, you know, there's grilled cheese. They're kind of limitless options. I don't put like tons of restrictions on it as long as we have food. Sometimes they'll have yogurt, they'll have fruit parfaits for lunch. They'll cut up tons of fruit and have a big fruit salad. You know, they do some different things, and I try to allow them to be creative while also making sure we're encouraging them to eat as healthy as possible. And so that's kind of how we do lunch. It's very open, and I don't want it to be like, here, I have made your lunch, here it is. First of all, I don't want to make everybody's lunch. I already make dinner for them, and that's enough for me. And they complain enough about food in general with dinner that I don't want to have them complaining all day to me about what they're eating. So they can pick. And, you know, we set some boundaries for it, and then they get to pick, and they learn how to work in the kitchen. They learn how to work with each other. Sometimes they fight a lot, but all in all, it's just really good. Like food and learning how to navigate food, eating healthy, how to cook food is a really good skill for kids to learn. And I feel like my kids are doing a pretty good job. All right, so that's how we do food in our homeschool. It's how we keep things a little bit more simplified or streamlined. so that we can get all the things done and get our schoolwork done, but also let my kids be in the kitchen and have, you know, a healthier relationship with food, hopefully. And so remember to check out that playlist down below for other ideas of homeschool moms here on YouTube. Remember to give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you next time.